Can you make Joule share the weather conditions for the city you live in? Let's try to do so. Can you share the weather conditions for Eindhoven? I'm sorry, Tom, but I cannot provide real-time weather updates or conditions. So, as expected, Joule cannot share the weather conditions for a certain city. How can we train Joule to be your weatherman? In order to do so, you need three things. You need, of course, SAP BTP with Joule activated. We need a weather API, and we need a skill that helps Joule to share the weather conditions. Now, let's build that skill. And to start, we'll find the weather API. If you, for example, go to openweathermap.org.api, there you can find different APIs to tell the weather. Now let's go to the API for the current weather data. Here you can see how to make an API call. You deliver the latitude and longitude and then an API key, which is difficult. So there is also a feature that has built-in geocoding. Let's go over there. And now you can see you can make an API call with the weather for a certain city, and of course you need an API key. The API key you can register for yourself if you register and then go for an API key. Then you get an API key, and that's the one that you can use when you call the API. Now, to make sure that we can call this Open Weather API, we need to create a destination in BTP. Let's go there. And you can see the Open Weather API as a destination in BTP. It is basic authentication with my user, and then it's going to call the URL with 2.5 at the end. If we go back to the API definition, then you can see that we also need to include the weather for a specific city and the API key. That's something that we are going to do with an action. So let's create the action in Joule. Let's go to SAP build, go to actions, and we're going to create a new skill from scratch. Weatherman Joule. Create. We're going to do a get, and we need the endpoint with my API key, and then what we need to add to the URL as defined in the destination. Weatherman Joule action. And now we need to add an input field, which is a new field which is called city, which is mandatory. And now, as we need to add this field to the URL, we need to define the parameter path over here. Find a label. And this is all for now. Add the field. And now we can test the action. We select the destination, which is Open Weather API, and the city is Eindhoven. Test. And if you now look at the body of the API, you can see that it has clouds in Eindhoven, that there is a temperature like 10 degrees, 10, almost 11 degrees, and some other parameters of the API that we just received for calling this API. Now, since we also need to define the output, it's really easy. We now say generate output, and we say just accept everything. And if we now go back to output, then you can see that all the parameters that I got from the API are now also in the action. Now we need to save the action. To make it available, we need to release it. And we need to publish the action. And I'm really sure. Now the action is published, and now we go on for the next step, which is to create a skill. Go back to SAP build, to the lobby, And we're going to create a Joule skill, which is called Weatherman Joule skill. Create. There we go. Create the skill. Weatherman Joule skill. Weatherman create. This is the skill that we're going to create, and we need to define what will be the input for this skill. Well, that will be the city, of course, which is required. Apply. Takes a while. And we're going to also configure the skill outputs. Let's make it easy. Let's go give back the temperature, which is a number. And let's also add the description. There are a lot of parameters, but for now we will do we only add just 2. Description. Apply. And now we have a skill that has input like city and gives me back the weather description and also the temperature. To get that information, of course, we need to call our action. Let's go to the action. Browse all actions. And where do we have my Weatherman Joule action? Let's add this one. I just created it. And we need a destination, which is the link to the destination in BTP. Weather API. Select the Weather API. We need to configure the city, which is the input from the skill, and we can see that we can get all those outputs. Let's go to let's map the output parameters. The description will be in the list description, and the temperature will be somewhere in main temp. All right, now we need to do one really important thing. Now we need to train Joule how to get this weather information. And we will do that in the description. In the description is used for Joule to determine whether to apply this skill or not. Now, if we say something like this, return the current weather conditions like temperature, humidity, pressure, feels like temperature, weather description, clouds or rain for a given city. Now Joule knows to use this skill if I ask for the weather conditions. Save, release. And of course we need to deploy to a shared environment. Deploy. The destination will be our Open Weather API. Deploy. Has been deployed to the shared environment. Go to the console tower, to the environment, shared build environment. Now you can see that the Weatherman Joule skill has been deployed to this shared build environment. And if I now go to Joule, you can see that the skill for the Weatherman has been deployed as well. Now we're going to launch Joule. And let's forget about the history. And start with a blank sheet. Please share weather conditions for Eindhoven. And here we go. Weather conditions for Eindhoven, 10.9 degrees and broken clouds. What is current temperature in Barcelona? (70.4 degrees with a few clouds. And this is how you train Joule to be your weatherman. And I think it would be nice to add a new skill to it, maybe to give you also some clothing advice, what to wear, maybe to bring an umbrella if it's going to rain or not. So you can play around with this, and as long as you have BTP, an API and a skill, you can have fun with Joule.